Lechi lach to a land that I will show you. Lech lecha to a place you do not know.
All right, so hello everybody. Me and Malka are ready for the presentation. Let me just put her behind. Okay, now she's hidden behind the flag, but she's right there. And so we're about to start touring our Capitol Hill. This time I will be using Google Earth. Okay, I never know what is better, so you will tell me what you think of it. It's not always available because it depends, you know, if in the areas of the desert there are no street views, and then you lose much of the impression. But this time, since obviously so many people walked around the Knesset and the Menorah and took photos, so I thought that will be a better way to share that experience with you. And so in the end of the presentation, you will tell me what you think about it. And just a reminder, we're still in April, so even though I always have, almost have the entire May ready, but next Tuesday will be the poetry, the Independence War in the lens of poetry, so we will be still related to this week. And then next Thursday will be a surprise from UAE. Me and Malka will be sharing our experiences there. I have no idea, like we were, even though I have a very detailed itinerary because I'm going with an organized tour, but we kept hearing that nothing is obvious, things change, things are flexible. And on top of everything, there is the Ramadan, which just started. And this is the first time an Israeli group is spending, you know, time during the Ramadan in the UAE, so they don't know what's going on with food, what's going on with, you know, businesses open, what's going on with, will we be able to visit mosques, which the groups normally visit. So everything is sort of a surprise. So me and Malka will be experiencing and sharing with you. So having said that, I will start sharing my screen. Just a second. Okay. Where is it? Yeah. All right. Can you see it well enough? Do you see my screen?
Looks good.
Great. Thank you. So the tour is named the Knesset and its surroundings, the Israeli Capitol Hill. And these are the sites we're going to visit. And on top of that, there are two other sites which are not normally visited by tourists, even though they're right there. So wait for it. Okay. All right, so we will begin just with a very general overview. Well, this is Jerusalem. This is where we're heading now. We are facing north now. So north of Jerusalem, we have Beit Hanina, Bir Nabal, and Kalandia. And then somewhere over here, we have Ramallah. And then on the left, generally speaking, this is where the Mediterranean Sea is. And then on the right-hand side, this is generally speaking the Judean Desert, and further to the right is the Dead Sea. But we will be focusing on these marks, and this is the center of Jerusalem. So let's get a closer look. All right, we are about to land. This is the area which we normally call our Capitol Hill, because right now we are right above the Knesset, the Israeli parliament. The Ministry of Finance is here. As you can see, this is where the money comes from. And the menorah, famous menorah, I'm sure quite a few of you have photos from the menorah, is located up here to the north. And then north from the menorah, this is the Rose Garden. While south of it, or better to say west, this is where the Israel Museum is located, and the Bible Land Museum, and the famous Shrine of the Book with the Dead Sea Scrolls, which is, by the way, is one of the topics of the tours of May. So let's turn around. And here we will get a better view because this one is taken by a drone, not my drone. This is something I found. Yeah, of course, no, I can't do that. So that was found on over the internet. But that lets us take a gorgeous view of the area, the entire area we are going to tour. So at the lower part here, this is the Supreme Court. This is a beautiful building. Very, very important, of course, which is close to the public right now. So we will be a bit limited in our visit, but we will do our best. So this is the Supreme Court, part of which is the Supreme Court of Justice. And all that green area surrounding it and south of it, this is the Rose Garden. This is a beautiful area to walk around. Which is also often used for demonstrations and protests and all sorts of things. But the best thing is just walking around, and it's very romantic. And then directly south from it, this is where the Knesset is. This is the Israeli parliament right here. And there is a straight path which connects the two, okay, crossing the Rose Garden. And this is the one we will be walking later. So now we are looking to the south. So in this area, the Nayot and further Bet Hanina and Gilo, and then here this is Arnona, and right behind that hill we don't see it, but right behind it, this is where Bethlehem is. All right, so this is the very end, the southern end of Jerusalem. If we take a look to the west, so this is what we see. Well, we don't see much because the sun is too shining, but all these buildings in front of you now, these are the various ministries. So this one here, we will see it closer later. This is the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And behind it, this is where the Ministry of Economy and the Ministry of Tourism is located. So this is where me and thousands of other Israeli tour guides took our final graduation exams. So this is something we're very much connected to. And this is where the Ministry of Immigration is located. It's this building here. So both me and so many other immigrants, and very soon Ina, we all have to do with this building of the Ministry of Aliyah, of Immigration, and the Israeli Bank is here, and so on. So now we keep moving. Now we start looking north. This shell-looking building, this is the Cinema City, not functioning today, but normally there is a shopping mall, there is a, Cinema City is a movie theater, and here, I hope you can see that bridge. This is the bridge which connects the Supreme Court with the parking lot, which is located here, and that shopping mall. And basically further, it is connected to the central bus station and the northern neighborhood of Jerusalem. So later on, we will be standing over that bridge. And as we will be standing over that bridge, we will take a look to the east, and then we will see this. And this is the main part. This is the central part of Jerusalem. This is where Machane Yehuda Market, famous, the delicious Machane Yehuda Market, is located, and Nachlaot. And further, again, we don't see it so well from here, but further inside, this is where the old city is located, and Mount of Olives is here, and then behind it, this is where the Dead Sea is. So let's take another look. All right, here we can see the central bus station. Right here you can see this tall tower that used to be the Holiday Inn Hotel for many years. It was purchased by a different company, and now it's called Beret or something like that, but it is still closed to the public, so I don't know if it is recommended or not. But anyhow, this is where our area looks like. Let's take another look and let's start getting closer. Let's start at the Knesset. I can see that people are writing things on chat, so if we have any newcomers, I'm not capable of reading chat and responding at the same time, so you write whatever you want and I will answer, respond in the end of the presentation. If there is something which is
Julie,
urgent.
it was just asking for you to enlarge the pointer.
Okay, so you see sometimes things are urgent, you can't delay them. So okay, here we go. All right, now it's red, so I hope you can see it better.
Thank you.
Okay, so now great. I'm not sure though it will stay red as soon as I switch slides, but let's see. Anyhow, we will start now by the Knesset again, which is here, and from the Knesset we will proceed through the Rose Garden towards the Supreme Court. And then from the Supreme Court later, we will be crossing the road towards this area. Okay, this is something, I mean, now we're looking at the aerial photo. It's very easy to see. I mean, it's quite large. But normally, and also being to these areas, you don't see it. I mean, there's no way you can walk down the street and see this area. And even more so, you don't see this green area, which is closer to the Knesset. So this is something we will be visiting later. Okay? All right. Now let's see if the pointer says red. Yes, it is. Wonderful. So welcome. We are standing in front of the Knesset, of the Israeli parliament. The meaning of the word Knesset, it comes from the verb lehitkanes, which means to gather, together. So Knesset is basically a gathering, all right? The Hebrew word for a synagogue is Beit Knesset, the house of the gathering. So this is the Knesset, and this is the Beit of the Knesset. Anyhow, if we take a look around, we oops, hey, it doesn't move. Wait a minute. It doesn't move for some reason. Oh, this is unfair. I wanted you to look around the square in front of the Knesset, but it doesn't want to move. Okay, I will move to the next slide in such a case. Maybe I will be able to rotate. Well, it doesn't work. Okay. Let's try another one. Okay, so in the very beginning of the existence of the State of Israel, we had the Knesset, actually the Knesset, the first gathering, the first group of people which became the leaders of the brand new State of Israel and made the first laws of the State of Israel. They gathered in a house which is not this one. Yes, in Jerusalem, not in here. The Declaration of the Independence took place in Tel Aviv, of course, and then the members of the Knesset gather and settle in a building which is known as the House in Jerusalem, closer to the old city, because there was no special building built yet, and only in the end of the 50s, it was announced that the Israeli government is looking for an architect who will build a new permanent home for the Knesset. So there was a competition among the architectures, and the one who won, his name was Yosef Klerwein. And what you see on your right-hand side, this is what he proposed. This is the original plan of the Knesset. He won the competition, but at the same time, so many people, so many architects in Israel were unhappy, unpleased, unsatisfied with this plan. Some said that, hey, it is too boring. Others said, hey, it is too classical. The others said, no, this is not Israeli. And there were other complaints as well. And eventually they found a compromise. Actually, an additional group of architects were appointed to sit down with Yosef Clearvine and find a solution which will be, which will please more people. So they started from this building on the right, and they ended up with this building on the left, and this is what the Knesset looked like up until about 20 years ago. And this is still basically what the Knesset looks like. Later, some 20 years ago, the Knesset became too small for all the needs of the grown-up country, and so they added another wing to the building on the left towards the east, and it got this final shape it has today. But more or less, it stayed this way, and yet quite a few people don't like it. I mean, if you ask an average Israeli, he might tell you that it should not look like that. I mean, this is not a proper look for the Israeli parliament. Why? Because that resembles, I mean, it's not my opinion, but this is something I constantly hear, that resembles too much of a pagan temple. It actually resembles too much of the Acropolis in Athens. It is not Jewish, but that's what it looks like. So the construction works began. Okay, we can see the cornerstone being placed here on the left, and here on the right at the bottom you can see the Knesset almost ready to be used. And finally, in 1966, congratulations, we have a Knesset. This is the inauguration of the Knesset. We had over 40 representatives of the different countries. We had about 8,000 guests from all over Israel. There were some 5,000 or so special guests from the city of Jerusalem. Flags are all over, just like the flag behind me. And here we are. We have a building, a permanent home for the 120 Knesset members. And, some former Knesset members, they remember how weird it was to move from Beit Frumin, this original temporary location along King George Street in Jerusalem, into this modern, well, for that time, modern house, how big it was. And they kept being late to the different meetings, and because they could not realize how big and complicated this building is and how long it takes them to get from one office to the other. So some of them said that the feeling was like moving from a submarine to Queen Elizabeth. Okay, it's just huge. Today doesn't look so big. Now, as we visit the Knesset, one of the must-sees are these huge carpets, woven carpets, according to the paintings made by Marc Chagall. And there is also a mosaic floor, which I could not find a good photo of, but there is also a mosaic floor, which was made according to another art piece by Marc Chagall. So somehow the windows of Hadassah Hospital Synagogue are very famous, and this is like a very common tourist site. I will take you there, by the way, soon. And I want you also to know that in the Knesset we have the Marc Chagall lawn with this beautiful artwork. And okay, now we will make it to the second floor, and this is what the Knesset looks like from inside, with the various offices and various committees. And this, okay, that's what the largest hall of the Knesset looks like. This is called the Meli'ah. Meli'ah from the word maleh. Maleh is full, okay, the hall. So that's what the Meli'ah looks like, and this is where the members of the Knesset vote for the different decisions, and this is where they sometimes scream, one or the other. And up here, the audience can be present. I mean, every single person, since we're talking about the democracy, and since we're talking about open events, except of specific events which are close to the public, but the majority of the Knesset meetings are open to the public, and so you're welcome to sit up here. You cannot interfere, unfortunately, but at least you can see what's going on. You can listen to the discussion. And this photo was taken during, a few years ago when they swore hashba'ah, what is the proper word? Hashba'ah is when you swear loyalty. There is a different word to it. Panel, I cannot hear you. Okay, well, I'm sure you know.
To take an oath.
Taken oath. Okay, so this photo was taken a few years ago, and this is the taken oath by the new 120 Knesset members. The number 120 is because this was the number of the elders in the Knesset Hagdolah during the Second Temple period. Anyhow, these are two of my students. Today they're tour guides, and we had a tour of the Knesset as part of our tour guide course. So we could even sit in one of the offices when a specific committee is settled. I don't remember which one. So this is Rivi, she's an officer in IDF, and this is Yair. And well, if we saw at least a little bit what the Knesset looks like, no politics, but I do want to try to understand the complexity of our political situation. Again, I'm not talking about who is right and who is wrong, but I am talking about the fact that we do not have a parliament, and it seems like we will not have a parliament for another 2, 3, 4 years. And well, Pamela, you're joking. This is no joke. You know that we had way too many elections, and that's because you see what you see in front of us is the inauguration. The endorsement. You know that according to the Israeli law, we have the vote and we have the different parties. These are the parties which passed the threshold. There were almost 40 parties which you could vote for. These guys and only then passed their required minimum. And then after we have the mandate and we know how many people from each party will be part of the 120 members of the Knesset, and they all take their oath, then a representative of each party meets the president, Rivlin, and they tell him who they think should form the coalition. In other words, who should be the prime minister, and then the guy who gets the more votes, he will try to form the coalition. So as you can see, Netanyahu was endorsed by 52 Knesset members. Lapid was endorsed by only 45. Bennett, okay, the head of Yamina, he endorsed himself, and therefore he got 7 only. And then we have 16 who did not endorse anybody at all, okay? Meaning that we don't, well, I don't know what they meant. Anyhow, that's the situation. Therefore, it's obvious that Netanyahu is the one who should form the coalition. And well, indeed, Yosef Rivlin, the president, he declared that the mandate to form a coalition is given to Netanyahu, even though he said that he's not very happy. He's not doing it with his full heart, because as you know, we are right now, Netanyahu is under investigation. And so he's not sure that this is the right thing, that somebody who is under investigation will form the coalition, but he was endorsed, and therefore this is the moment of the declaration. All right, okay, that seems simple, but in order to form a coalition, you need at least 61 members of the Knesset. Okay, at least 61. Now here you see, this is like, I was trying to show how weird it is, and so these are like puzzle pieces. So Kahol Lavan can work very well with Meretz, and it can also work very well with the Labor Party. Now they can, well, maybe work with the New Hope, because the New Hope, they are totally against Bibi, so they are willing to work with them, even though their political views are totally different from the Labor Party. Now, the religious Zionists, they can work well with Shas because they're Orthodox. They can work well with UTJ because they're Orthodox. And they can work very well with Bibi, but they cannot work under no circumstances with the joint list. Now, the joint list is needed by Netanyahu because otherwise it doesn't have the 61 votes. Now, Israel Beitenu, they would prefer Netanyahu because their political views, economical views are much closer to those of Bibi rather than of Yair Lapid and the Labor Party, but Israel Beitenu hate Bibi, so they will not work with Bibi, and so on and so forth. Okay, things are even more complicated than that, and well, frankly, I have no idea how that will be solved. And actually, at least, you know, we, as I told you before, we spent the Yom Ha'atzmaut here at home with friends, and we did exactly the same last night. And all of our friends agree that we are about to have another election very soon, because it's unlikely that any of these guys, Lapid or Bibi, will be able to form a coalition. And then theoretically, we can have another elections, but then I don't think something will change in that puzzle. And okay, you understand, okay? I'm not trying to be very clear. I'm just trying to show how difficult it is. So let's leave the Knesset. Let's jump away. Let's cross the road. Okay, we just crossed the road. Here, right in front of us, you can see the Knesset. All right, we just came from the Knesset. And let's move around. Let's make a circle. And here we are. We are right next to the Menorah. And I'm pretty sure that at least half of the audience, you've been here, and maybe you even have your photos next to the Menorah. And this is the famous Menorah, which was donated by the Brits to the relatively young Israeli government back in 1956. So let's take a look at this Menorah. Let's take a better and closer look. So first of all, this is the gentleman who designed the Menorah. His name is Beno Elkan. He is Jewish, of German origins. He moved to England later, and he was approached by the son of the first British government over the land of Israel. The first British governor was Herbert Samuel. Today, this is the promenade along the beach in Tel Aviv. And his son asked Beno Alkan, the artist, to make a bronze menorah. So Beno Alkan agreed, and he was working very hard at it. It was actually quite difficult, and it took a very long time before they had enough money to make this huge bronze menorah. But little by little, a donation and another donation, and eventually they made a menorah. This is the menorah, which is the same menorah which we saw a minute ago. But as you can see, it is in a different location because that menorah was donated to the Knesset. And as you know, before 1966, the Knesset was not where it is today. So the menorah was next to the Knesset, where it used to be in the center of Jerusalem. And only after the Knesset moved to the new building, the menorah followed. Okay, so far so good. Now, the thing is that the menorah is located outdoors. It used to be located outdoors from the very beginning, but this is not what the Beno Elkan meant. this is what he meant. He thought that the menorah is supposed to be inside the Knesset, and some special hole, maybe a glass hole, it was not specified, but it was definitely supposed to be indoors. And then the source of light for the menorah was supposed to be from up above. So this is the original sketch which was made by Benu Elkan. And I guess the menorah would be even more impressive and better lit, and you would be able to see the figures of the menorah better than you can see them now. So that was the plan, but this never happened. So just a few details of the menorah. The idea of a menorah, that there are different scenes which are dedicated to the different parts, the different eras of the existence of the people of Israel. So it starts from down here on the right. It starts from Shema Israel. I'm sure we all know what Shema Israel is. And since Shema Israel is the most fundamental, the most basic prayer for the Jewish people, so it is located at the very basement, at the very beginning, the lowest part of the menorah. And down higher, we have the 10 Commandments. And then here we have Moses. This is a very famous battle when the tribes of Israel, soon after the Exodus, they were fighting against the Amalekians. And they knew that as long as Moses' hands are held up there, as you can see, they will win the battle. But Moses was very old when he left Egypt. You know, he was 80 years old, and he could not hold his hands up there for so long. And so there were two people who were holding his hands. And eventually, the people of Israel won the battle. And down here, that has to do with the Independence War. You can see soldiers with rifles, with what do you call it? God, the head protection. There's another word for it, I know. And here on the right, this is the Chazon Ha'atzmot Hayeveshot, the dry bone. No, what's wrong with me today? The dry bones prophecy from the book of Ezekiel. Here, these are the Maccabees. Okay, we have all different periods, and all of them are metal and bronze. Okay, after we took a look at this, can you guess why it was not eventually placed inside the Knesset? Any suggestions? You're welcome to unmute yourself. All right, well, the thing is that quite a few Orthodox Jews hated the menorah from the very moment they saw it, because for them, that was a violation of the second commandment, because we have too many figures. We can see too many people around here. That looks a little bit like maybe idols. And so in the beginning, they were so much against it that it was not even clear that the government can accept the menorah. I mean, you know, we have an amazing present ready for us in England, but it was not so obvious that it will do any good to the parliament to accept the gift. Eventually, the chief rabbi of Israel at the time declared that the menorah is kosher, and so the menorah was accepted and placed next to the Knesset, but not inside the Knesset, because the parliament wanted to be on the safe side. And ever since, we have the menorah right in front of the Knesset. So once again, we can take another look at the menorah. Here it is. Now you can see the Shema Israel at the very bottom here. And I don't know, the Google Earth doesn't really want to cooperate. All right, that's what it can do. But the Shema Israel is very obvious. And here we have another phrase from the Bible. And up here we have the 10 Commandments and Moses and Odyssey. So after taking a good look at the menorah, let us walk into the rose garden. Let's take a jump into the rose garden. And wow. Well, I think I personally will vote for PowerPoint presentation. I cannot make it clear. It just doesn't work. Oh, so frustrating. Okay. Well, guys, I'm sorry. I'm trying my best. Anyhow, these are the photos of the rose garden, which were taken by me. And so at least this works. The rose garden was designed back in 1981 as a as a rose garden. This is the best place in Israel to see roses. There are over 400 species of roses. There are about 15,000 plants of the different species. We have the name of the species next to the plot of the roses, and they just, you know, now there are only a few flowers, but during May and June, this is beautiful indeed. And different parts of the rose garden are dedicated to different countries, different communities, which contributed to the beauty of the park. Now, originally, the Rose Park was made as the private park for the president of the state of Israel, and later it was open to the public. And later, the idea was that in between the parliament and the Supreme Court, these two very, you know, hard and difficult and responsible institutions, there will be just a piece of nature, something beautiful, something relaxing. And so the Knesset members and the judges will be able to walk and connect. And this is why we have this connecting path in between them. And it's just beautiful. So I don't know if Jan is with us on this presentation, but we have a dear participant whose name is Jan, and he's from Holland, from Netherlands. So I took this photo specifically for Jan. I know that we have Canadians on the presentation, so this is the Ontario plot, and I'm very happy to see you here. And this is the Japanese garden. I'm not sure there are any Japanese on the presentation, but this is a typical Japanese piece with a little bit of water, with some rocks, with vegetation. This is a traditional Japanese lantern. This is the Japanese equivalent of a menorah. And on the back of this rock here, that's what it says, Kamayim laperach, ahava la'adam. And this is really beautiful. In comparing the essence of nature to the essence of mankind, water is essential to a flower as love and peace are to human spirit. Isn't it beautiful? And well, you can spend some time playing chess on the ground. There is a little pond. The water from the Japanese garden runs in a small canal into this water, and we have a little wetland, and this is another part of the Japanese garden. So sorry, the Google Earth didn't want to cooperate. They didn't let us walk around the garden. Anyhow, we jumped into the end of this path, which connects the Knesset with the Supreme Court. We just came from here on the left. This is the area of the Japanese garden and the Canadian garden. And now let us take a little walk along these paths, which is usually walked by judges or families on their way to the Supreme Court. Once again, okay. So imagine that we kept walking and walking and we made it into this gate. And as soon as we make it into this gate, all right, this is what we see. We are inside the inner courtyard of the Supreme Court, and we are walking straight forward, and then we will enter the lobby of the court. Yeah, this is the other part. There is a parallel courtyard. This is not the one we walked through. And right in the middle, you can see this canal with running water. And that running water symbolizes, well, for the Japanese, the love and peace. And in Judaism, it is related to life, and it is related to the Bible. And the Bible is the source of justice, even though the Israeli jurisdiction is not exactly biblical, of course, but every judge and every attorney in Israel has to study the biblical sources of the law and the Talmudic sources of the law. So this water canal, on top of being just pretty, also reminds you of your sources, of your truth. This is the second floor of the Supreme Court. This is the library. This is the huge library, which runs around the central court, the central hall. Okay, that's what it looks like. All right. And from this corridor, you can enter the offices of the judges of the Supreme Court. Now, if we take a look to, well, normally we take a look up there, and then on the ceiling, we can see a little pyramid with 4 little openings. I mean, with a closed by glass, but there are openings. And so when there is sunshine, we have like patches of light on the floor. And obviously when the sun moves, so the patches of light move as well. And these patches of light symbolize truth and justice. Now, the idea of the architect of Ram Karni was to remind the judges that truth is not obvious, and it does not stay on one spot. I mean, same way as you cannot stop these patches of light from moving, you cannot catch them, you cannot be sure that, oh, I saw that it is here, so it will be here forever. So just like that, truth and justice and your understanding can change. And so sometimes something which looks like definitely true to you, it is not actually so in reality. I mean, this is something which is supposed to encourage the judges to understand that they can make mistakes. So I think this is a real beautiful idea. And well, no, I cannot show you this pyramid right now. And therefore, no. This is the building. That's what it looks like from the front. This is the bridge I showed you before by the drone. And this is the bridge which connects the Supreme Court with this part. This is the parking lot and the shopping mall. So this photo on the right is taken from the bridge. And now we are looking towards the east, towards the old city, Machne Yehuda market, and Nachlaot, and the beating heart of Jerusalem. So it's very pretty, you know, when you come from the Knesset, which is the source of power, and then you visit the Supreme Court, which is the source of justice, or at least it is supposed to be. We hope it is the source of justice. And then you're standing on this brand new bridge towards a shopping mall, and then you look at the center of Jerusalem. So the idea here is very good. Now, we left the Supreme Court. We walked maybe 2 minutes or so, and then we are facing the Knesset once again. Okay, right here you can see the east wing of the Knesset, the new wing of the Knesset. This is the barrier which we are not allowed to drive. I mean, you can walk, but you cannot drive through. But we're not going to do that because we've already been to the Knesset. Let's just take a little look around. All right, the Rothschild Street. Okay, yeah, this is where we came from. That's where the Rose Garden is, and the Supreme Court is over there. But what I want us to see is this part, which we never actually pay attention. You see what it says here on the sign? The bird watching station. Did you know that there is a bird watching station in Jerusalem right next to the Knesset? Well, it is here for the last 25 years or so, I guess. And the idea is to bring a little bit of nature into this so densely populated city, and to bring the people of the city, and especially the school kids, to be able to watch a little bit of the wildlife, and to get connected to the wildlife, even though they're in the heart of the city. And so it was decided by the Society for Protection of Nature as well to take just a little plot of land next to the Knesset, which somehow survived the development of the area, and make it attractive to the birds. So they made some wetland, and they placed some, feeding spots for birds. And the birds, which were probably really looking forward to a nice place to rest in Jerusalem, they started coming over there. So it was very successful, both for birds and for Jerusalemites. And that's, you see, you just walk a little bit behind. And this is a blind. I mean, you can see down inside here, you can see down inside there. And then you're facing this bush, this wetland. And the birds are being fed here and watered here. And early morning, the workers of the bird watching center, they place nets, and then they catch little birds, and then they put rings on them, and then you can trace their footsteps and see where they came from or where they go. So this is a very rare bird. In Hebrew, it's called the Sibri Nitzi. I never even heard about this bird. And the guy who showed me this photo, he was, oh, do you know, we just catch it this morning and we placed a ring, and now, of course, they released it. So he was very, very proud. And this is just another beautiful place to escape from the hustling, bustling city. These are just some photos inside this bird watching center. Right here, you see that you can put some food for the birds, and another one here. And, well, hard to imagine that it actually exists in between the Supreme Court and the Knesset, and very few people know about it. So now you do. And we take just a few more steps. And this is the cemetery. This is a relatively large plot of land, which we saw before on the drone photo. This is the old cemetery, which almost not used today unless there's a close relative of somebody whose tomb is here. But this was one of the main cemeteries for Jerusalem in between 1948 to 1967. Because as you know, the traditional cemetery, the old cemetery of Jerusalem, is Mount of Olives. And after 1948, Mount of Olives was out of reach for the Jews in Jerusalem, since Mount of Olives was in East Jerusalem, which was part of Jordan. So there was a need to find another locations to bury the dead. And so a few cemeteries were established just at the outskirts of Jerusalem, as it was back then in 1948. And now these cemeteries are actually well inside the city, which grew much, much bigger since. And this is one of them. This is the cemetery of Givat Ram, that's what it's called. And then after 1967, we started using the Mount of Olives Cemetery again. And in between the main cemetery, which is the main cemetery for Jerusalem today, on Har HaMenuchot, at the entrance to Jerusalem, was established as well. So now the cemetery is sort of hidden and surrounded by roads, and I mean, it's very, very strange to get there and see a huge cemetery which you never saw before. Now, as you get closer, you see this is the fence of the cemetery, and there are like lots of notes on this fence, which is not the normal way. I mean, I never saw anything like that in any other cemetery, and all of these notes, they thank the Admor, the great rabbi from Zvil. And like here it says, Hodu l'Adonai ki tov ki le'olam chesdo. This is something we say in the Passover Haggadah. Thank God because his mercy is forever. I was praying on the tomb of Rabbi Mizvil for my daughter to find a good husband. And I got rewarded. Okay, he actually helped me, and this is signed Tuvia Ben Dov. Okay, and then there is another note, and it says that I came here and I prayed at the tomb of the same rabbi to find a honest person to rent my apartment. Okay, this is another good reason to pray to the rabbi. And there's so many other notes of the same kind. You see, this is the tomb itself inside the cemetery of the rabbi from Zvil. That's what he looked like. And like dozens, maybe almost 100 notes all over the place. And all these people are saying the same thing. I prayed to the rabbi and he helped me with this and this and that. And now you have to announce that you were helped and there was a miracle, so others will know as well that they could approach the rabbi and he will help you. So if you need any help, you're welcome to visit the cemetery and pray at his tomb. And you have to pray Monday, Thursday, Monday. That's what you should do. And he will help you. Okay, I did not try myself, but this is what many people believe. And I just want to finish with a little story. As I was, as I was there making the photos, there was an Orthodox man who approached me, and he asked me, "Hey, do you need any help?" And I said, "No, thank you, I'm okay." And that was really unusual because Orthodox men are not supposed to approach a foreign woman. He is not supposed to look at me. He's not supposed to talk to me. But this is what he did. Anyhow, so I said, "No, thank you, I'm okay." And yet he wanted to talk to me, and he told me about the cemetery, and he told me about his relative who is buried there, and he told me, he was communicating. And then I asked him if he knows where does this tradition come from. Like, this is the only place with so many notes, even though we have so many other rabbis which are supposed to be able to help you with your difficulties. Anyhow, so I asked him if he has any idea why this rabbi has so many notes. And he said, no, well, actually, I don't know. We just happened to be that way for many, many years. And all right. So anyhow, we had this little talk, and then he said goodbye. And just before he left, he told me, you know what? You asked me about these notes. You asked me about the salvation this rabbi gives people. And since you've asked about salvation, that means that you need a salvation. And I hope you will find it. All right. And that was it. Like, he said goodbye and he left. And I stayed behind, and I was like, whoa. I mean, I don't think I need salvation. I think I'm pretty much okay. But in the same time, you know, if you think deeply, so we all need salvation. I mean, we all have troubles. We all need help. We all have our hopes and desires. And so, yeah, I mean, so probably I do need salvation, and I hope I will find it. I hope we will all find that salvation. Maybe the rabbi will help us. Maybe something else. Who knows? But that was a special meeting I had at the cemetery. So just before we finish the whole thing, we make another quick jump. Once again, we're next to the Knesset. You already see it. We're looking at the Knesset from a different angle, because before we were at the northern side of the Knesset next to the Menorah. Now we are standing at the southern part of the same Knesset. This is where, I mean, this photo was obviously taken a few years ago, but this is the area where the National Library will be built. Actually, it's under construction now. The National Library is located in the University of Givat Ram, not far away. It will move to here. And as we move around, now we are facing this special looking, weird, maybe looking white dome. I'm sure you recognize, those of you who've been here, this is the white dome of the Shrine of the Book, which is part of the Israel Museum. And this white top is a replica of the lids of the vessels inside which some of the Dead Sea Scrolls were found. And underneath, this is the Shrine of the Book, and this is where the Dead Sea Scrolls, which are on display, are stored. So this is a very impressive, very interesting, and definitely very moving and very, very important find, the Dead Sea Scrolls. And this is something I will tell you in one of our future tours. We will be visiting Qumran, which is the area where they were found. And we will be talking about Qumran and the Assyrian community and the Dead Sea Scrolls. So as you can see, they're right across the border, right across the road from the Knesset. And again, it's not a coincidence. The idea was to form the Israeli Capitol Hill with the Knesset, with the court, with the ministries, and with the very sources of Judaism, of Jewish nation, and, if you will, our right to be here. So the Dead Sea Scrolls are here, and other archaeological finds of the Israel Museum, which is all around this area. They're right next to the Knesset as, well, a sort of a proof, a sort of a foundation for our being here. So that's it. Thank you for watching. We are back at the grass lawn of the Rose Garden. This is the best place to sit down and relax and look around and say, whoa, it is so great to be here. It is so great. We have that opportunity to be here and celebrate our 73rd Independence Day. So thank you very much for joining me. And
thank you, Julia.
Okay, thank you, Lana. I'm sorry for the technical issues. I don't know why. I mean, it worked fine, and now some of the slides, they just, I could not move them. It didn't happen. I don't know why.
All your fault.
Yeah,
All
Julia,
your fault, Julia.
yeah, Julia,
I'm sure. I'm sure about it.
yeah, Julia, just a suggestion. Check that the router you're attached to is the one that you want to be on.
Yeah,
We have a bunch of, sorry, when you're done, we have a bunch of questions. I'm happy
Yeah,
to
of
read
course.
them to you, or if you want to read
No,
them.
no, no. I will read it myself. So let's start from the beginning. Okay, just before we lose people, guys, what do you think? I mean, I know that there were these technical failures, but I mean, maybe that will happen again. But do you think it's worth? What is better? Like, is it better to use Google Earth when it's possible, or it's better to stick to the PowerPoint, which is easier? How much did it add? How big was the benefit, you think?
I think your PowerPoints are great. So
I think you can use half and half.
Okay, it's like saying yes and no, like an Israeli politician. Yeah. Okay, all right. Any other opinions?
Google Earth is much harder to do, right?
It is a bit harder to do. I mean, the Google Earth itself is very simple, but the minute they want to add some photos to it, so then it takes more time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What does anyone else think? Feel free to unmute yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really looking forward to hear your opinions, because, I'm trying to do it attractive to you. I want you to be happy. So what do you think?
Johnny, what do you think?
Nobody thinks anything?
Johnny's on mute, so.
I like the Google
Johnny's
Earth.
assistant will be unmuting.
Hey, Gail, you think you like the Google Earth?
I do, but I see
Johnny.
it seems like you should be able to go back and forth. I don't know, because if you can't put the photos in Google Earth the way you want, then having the PowerPoint is okay.
Okay, Johnny started to say something.
I'm just repeating what everybody else says. If Google Earth works a little better, maybe it's the interface between Zoom and Google Earth that is really intensive, and maybe it doesn't work that well. But I think Google Earth is fine.
Mm-hmm. All right, so I will use Google Earth when it's possible, and hopefully the technical issues will not be as many as this time.
But don't struggle.
Okay, I will not struggle.
Yeah.
Okay.
We were happy before it, so whatever is easy for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, but well, okay, it really depends when. I mean, this time I did because when I made the project, so I can actually walk around the rose garden, and I liked it, and now it didn't work. Okay, let's see.
Salvation is coming.
Pardon?
Salvation is coming.
Right.
Well, I like your own photos too, so that's a consideration.
Yeah, I know, of course. I always use my photos as well.
I can't wait till
Lana?
you can walk around again. That's what I'm looking forward to.
Oh, well, me too. Well, I'm going to walk around the UAE.
True.
Soon.
We're
Okay.
not going to see that live, right? We're not going to see the UAE thing live, like as you're walking.
I hope so. I mean, I don't know where I will be, but the idea is to make it live on location, like as we did it in the very beginning.
Great.
The question is, where will I be at the time? It's 10 p.m. It's going to be dark. So if I'm not in a central area, but let's see. I hope so. All right, let's see. The question is, Harry asks, what kind of education do you have to do to get certified a tour guide in Israel? Do you need continuing education courses? Okay, so what you have to do, you have to accomplish a official tour guide course, which is supervised by the Ministry of Tourism. I mean, we have different schools, we have different colleges, which offer the courses, and then they're supervised by the Ministry of Education of Tourism, and then the final exam taken in the Ministry of Tourism, and you have the people who what do you call them, examinators, like somebody who you take the exam in front.
Yeah, I think it's
Examiners.
Examiners. Okay, so you have to pass all right, so you have to pass a written exam, which is very difficult, and then you have to pass an oral exam, which is very difficult. And the people who will be examining you are from the Ministry of Tourism, so you don't know ahead of time who they are. And then after you did all that, so then you get the official patch, and then you have to have at least 1 day of training every year in order to renew your certificate.
They're called qualifying exams. Qualifying
exam, right? Yes, the qualifying exam. You have 2 of them. You have to have the written one, and then if you pass the written one, so then you have to pass the oral one. And then if you want to guide in different languages, so on top of that, you have to pass an oral exam in that language you want to speak.
It's like getting a master's degree or a PhD here.
Right. Yeah, no, it's really, really difficult. I mean, obviously I passed the exam, and then I was a supervisor and coordinator of these courses. And it's incredible. I mean, the amount of knowledge you have to absorb, and you have to know how to present it to different groups, and on location and not on location, and you have to be able to plan a touring day which will feed the Jews, the Christians, this and that. It is a really, really difficult course and a very difficult exam. Oh, right.
I'm glad you passed.
Yeah, me too. Ilana said, isn't Lehit Kanes is also to enter?
It's Lehit Kanes. I had the whole conversation.
Exactly. Right.
My whole at Jewish gay school, so it took 38 years for me to learn that there was no T in it, because this whole time I thought it was Lehit Kanes was to enter.
No, Lehit Kanes is together.
Now I know.
Is to enter. Yes. Oh, right. Was it? Okay. Swearing in. Yeah, Julia. Okay. Anybody else here? Tom Lehret's National Brotherhood Week in their head? Ooh, well, I don't know. I'm not sure. Matthew wrote, anybody else here? Tom Lehrer, National Brotherhood Week in their head.
I don't know, but he's gone.
All right. Okay. Okay. How many members on Supreme Court? Okay. That depends on the issue. I mean, there are a few dozens of judges which are appointed to be the judges of the Supreme Court, and then different topics that have different numbers of judges. So it can start from 1, 3, 7. Etc. The maximum is 13. Okay, so obviously the more complicated, the more crucial issues will have the 13.
Wikipedia said 15.
Really? So maybe I'm wrong, or maybe the Wikipedia is wrong, which happens. Yes. I'm not sure. I can ask a friend of mine. She's a lawyer, and she just applied to become a judge, not a judge of the Supreme Court, because you cannot be directly a Supreme Court judge. You have to start from the lower level. But I'm sure she will know. So I will find out. I will let you know. How long does Supreme Court justice serve? Lifetime, like the U.S.
Julia, I looked that up on Wikipedia, and it said age 70 or unless removed from office.
Well, that basically means forever. Okay. Was this area under Jordanian control before 1967? No, definitely not. I mean, this is exactly the reason why we had that cemetery there, and this is why this area was picked up as the location of the Knesset, because this was an Israeli territory from the very beginning. I mean, as soon as the ceasefire agreement were signed, this is West Jerusalem. That was the Israeli capital from the very beginning. Okay, what else? How big is the federal area compared to the 1 kilometer square old city? Wow, this is a good question. It is larger, but I don't know how much larger. Steve, a great question. I have to find out. Okay, it is definitely bigger than 1 square kilometer.
It is.
Yeah, but I don't know. I don't know. The cemetery, sorry. Gail says the cemetery above ground casket look like the ones in the New Orleans, as well as Mount of Olives. Well, right. I mean, this is what a Jewish cemetery would look like anywhere, at least in Israel. Okay, this is the way you make the tombs. I mean, the burial is underground, but then you make this casket. Okay, it looks like a coffin, but these are not coffins. I mean, there's nothing inside, but you will always have those. And the way they appear in this cemetery and Mount of Olives, this is the more traditional way today. They can look like more modern, different shapes, but it is more or less the same. I don't know why. I don't know if there's any answer to this, but this is that's how we do it. Yeah. Did the original Knesset meet in the building on King George Street? Yeah, I mean, it's called Beit Frumin. It's not far from Beit Musadot on King George, and this is where the old Knesset used to be. The building is still there. They started renovating it quite a few years ago. It was supposed to be opened on, with a display about the history of the Knesset and forming of the government and stuff. And it never happened. I mean, it will probably happen at some point, but right now there is nothing. Do the president and prime minister have special houses in Jerusalem? Yes, of course. So there is a residence of the prime minister, and there is a residence of the president. They are not very far away. I mean, they are located both in the same neighborhood, which is called Rehavia. The one of the prime minister is right, like as you drive the shortcut to the old city towards the Jaffa Gate. So you always pass it. You can even see like there are guards, there is some fence, and and there is also the house of the president, which is a bit south from there. Very luxurious, very beautiful, very expensive, of course. The taxpayer pays for the houses, and then on top of that, they have their private house. Hey, oh, David, you said that you never seen that area before. That's great. Well, this is a very important one. What percent of applicants flunk out for being a tour guide? Oh, well, around 60% normally. Okay, that's 60. Yeah, it's a very difficult course. It's a very difficult exam, but you can try again and again. Like every 6 months there is an exam. So if you fail the first one, so you can try again, and unlimited amount of times. Most people pass after 2-3 exams. And then those who did not pass yet, so they quit, after 3 times, you feel like, okay, forget it. Even though I met a student who made 16 attempts. He was not my student, but he came there like 16 times in a row, and eventually he passed. I think he passed just because, you know, the examinators, they didn't feel like seeing him again, and they just felt sorry, compassion. I don't know, but anyhow, he passed it. But normally it's like with the driving license here. Like most people fail the first driving test, and then they do it again, and then the third time, fourth time. That's how it works. Where does the rabbinical court meet? Our cases divided between the two court systems. Okay, so whatever has to do with legal. Okay, let's put it another way. The rabbinical court deals with matrimonial status. Like if two Jews want to get divorced, so they have to apply to the rabbinical court, even if they did not get married in the rabbinical court. All the other legal matters, they are under the jurisdiction of a usual court. Now we have the three levels. Okay, we have Bet Mishpat Shalom, which are the simplest cases, and then you can go further to Mechuzi, which are more difficult cases. Like suppose you are accused of murder, so the investigation will take place at the second level, and then the Supreme Court is only for what you call it, if there is a verdict, like the judge decided that you are guilty and you think that you are not guilty, so then you can appeal. Yeah, so then you appeal to the Supreme Court, and as part of the Supreme Court, there is also something which is called Bagat, which is a Supreme Court of Justice, and this is where you apply if you believe that the government itself, the officials, did something wrong, not your neighbor, but the officials. Okay, so that's to the Supreme Court of Justice, and then you apply directly to the Supreme Court. But again, so the rabbinical court deals with matrimonial status, and the ultra-Orthodox, they choose to apply to the rabbinical court whatever it is, because they don't, well, at least part of them, those who do not accept the right of the state of Israel to exist, so they will definitely not apply to the court, because, you know, they don't accept the fact that the court is legal. For instance, today there was a big demonstration of the anti-Zionist ultra-Orthodox groups, and there was a demonstration which walked from Mea Shearim, you know, the ultra-Orthodox neighborhood, to Park Atzmaut in Jerusalem, protesting against the Independence Day. Okay, because as far as they're concerned, we have no right to exist. We have no right to declare independence because the Messiah did not come yet.
Then why did they go there? Why do they live in Israel?
Go where?
Why do they live in Israel then?
Oh, because this is the Holy Land. I mean, Jerusalem is here. It's not their fault that somebody made Jerusalem a capital of a sinful country.
I see.
Can't they say it's God's will?
Again, it's not my opinion.
I know.
It's their point of view, but they made a point of demonstration on the Day of Independence because it hurts their feeling that we celebrate the Independence Day. Okay. The bridge of Meiterim is near the Knesset. Yeah, I mean, it's not far away. It's right next to the Supreme Court and the central bus station, and then you walk for a few minutes and you make it to Gesher HaMeiterim. What is the status of the expansion of the light rail? Oh, well, they're working on it. I mean, probably in a few years there will be an extension of the light rail all the way to Ein Kerem, towards Hadassah Ein Kerem. So it should be a light rail stop at Hadassah Ein Kerem Hospital, which can be very helpful indeed.
Will it go to the German colony? Will it go through German Control?
Well, it is, no, not right now. I mean, in the future at some point, yes. Right now, no. We have something which is called the rail park, which is where the old railway used to be. But no, now they're not working on it. Frankly, like personally, I hope they will not do it because I think they will ruin the German colony in order to make it better. But for the first 10 years or so, it will be a disaster, just like the Jaffa Road used to be. And they're also working on the light rail in Gush Dan, in Tel Aviv and Ramat Gan and all these areas. They are working on it. It did not happen yet. In the meanwhile, they're working on the light rail in Tel Aviv and the suburbs, and some, I don't know, electrical stuff of the usual rail. And now there is no railway going to the airport, which is very inconvenient, for instance. And there's no railway from Tel Aviv up north at night because they're working. Anyhow. How Larry asked, how many languages does an average guide master? Well, there is no average guide. I mean, quite a few tour guides, they work with local population only and they speak Hebrew only. Most of the tour guides will be certified to guide in English as well, even though quite a few of them will never do that. Some other guys like myself, they will have the 3 languages, like their mother language plus English plus Hebrew. And the maximum I met is a guy who has a license to guide in 12 languages. Okay, but this is like very rare. Okay, Harry and okay, Tom Lair was a math professor. Okay, great. Well, that's it. These are all the questions. So now, if you do have any further questions, you're welcome to unmute yourself. If you want to tell us about Tom Lair or anybody else, you're welcome to do so. Okay. All right, that's it. Hey, Larry.
Yeah,
Oh, you have a menorah behind you. Whoa.
Do you hear me?
The reason why I asked the question was a number of years ago, one of my visits, I was on a tour and the tour guide spoke German, English, and Hebrew, and he did such a beautiful job.
Mm-hmm.
You never felt like he wasn't speaking your language. And
wow.
there were people who spoke only one of those 3.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah,
and I literally had to stop, and I stepped away from the group just to watch him do this. I thought I was really fascinated.
Wow. Okay, so he was gifted. I mean, as you've noticed, I cannot pretend that I speak English only. I can do that with Russian and Hebrew, but not with English. But you know, some people are just more gifted with languages, and others are less. So yeah, but this is quite common for an Israeli, not just tour guide, but for an Israeli to speak 2 or even 3 languages, because we study English in pretty high level, and then if you're not born here, so you have this native language of yours, and then Hebrew, and some people are just lucky, you know, they can study easily.
And you have the language gene.
And Julia, thank you as always.
Larry, thank you so much for joining me and placing that menorah behind you. You are actually part of the tour. I mean, that makes you a real part of. Okay.
I have a question. Do you hear me?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, Ina, I'm listening.
Many years ago, I visited Israel Museum, and there was a beautiful, beautiful rose garden. Is that the same garden at the Knesset and at the Israel Museum, or two
Yeah.
different ones?
No. This is the same one. It's in between. It is. You remember it as the rose garden of the museum, but it's not. It does not belong to the museum. It's nearby. It is the rose garden you saw now. This is the one and the only. It's just about the season. I mean, right now it's not the best season to visit it because most roses will blossom within a month, maybe. But this is the one.
Someone. I must say,
Hey,
I don't know.
Oh, can I give a
Valerie, it's either you
I
or
want to-
Beatrice.
Thank you.
wanted to give a shout out to an Israeli. I listened to a lecture last night from the chief medical officer at Moderna here in Cambridge. He talked for an hour. His name is Tel Zak, and he's from Haifa. He got his medical degree at Ben Gurion in the Negev, and he got his PhD in tumor immunology. He's been studying cancer and ways to use the immune system, and so he just fell into this, with the COVID that he was so good. He explained it from the very beginning, from the minute all the way up to how it is now and what he expects. And it was, so a shout out to another Israeli in the medical field. He was really excellent and down to earth. You could understand everything he said. And so it was.
He's one of the best known figures in Israel today. I mean, he is the one who brought the Moderna vaccines to Israel. And by the way, starting from Sunday, this is final official, starting from Sunday, there are no masks required outdoors. Okay, so this is a very good start.
Wow.
We really hope that in the nearest future we will not need masks even indoors, and little by little we'll start getting used to not wearing masks. That will take another while. Okay, Beatrice, did you want to say something?
Me?
You go on.
Yes, I want. Are you talking to me?
Yes, I'm talking to you.
Okay, I just must say how wonderful you are. Every time.
Thank you. Thank you.
And today's talk was just unbelievable. I have to get my children to come and listen to the repeat of it. It's wonderful. And
thank you so much. Okay.
Julia, are there many guides that speak Arabic?
Pardon? I did not understand.
Are there many guides that speak Arabic?
Well, of course, simply because there are many guides who are Arabs.
Okay. So they have Arab tours coming.
Oh yeah, we have lots of Arab tour guides, Arab Israeli tour guides, and that's also because most of the Arabs in Israel, they are Muslims, but there are also lots of Christian Arabs in Israel. And quite a few Christian groups, they prefer to have a Christian guide, which is something I can totally understand. And so they're looking for these Arab Christian guides. And so they actually have an occupation which I cannot compete with. And then, so yes, of course, there are so many Arab-speaking guides. And on top of that, we have quite a few Jewish tour guides whose families are from Arab-speaking countries, and so they are native Arab speakers. So yeah, if you're looking,
How many Israeli-speaking or how many Hebrew-speaking guides do you expect to see in Dubai?
How many Hebrew-speaking guides
do you expect to see in Dubai?
Oh, I mean, local guides in Dubai speaking Hebrew?
Yes.
Well, I don't expect so many right now, but I do expect them to learn very fast because we have so many Israelis and mostly Jews, simply because there are more Jews in Israel than Arabs. So basically, we have so many Hebrew-speaking tourists in Dubai, so I expect them to learn Hebrew just because, you know, it is a required language. It's just like quite a few Israeli tour guides learned Chinese because we have so many, well, not now, you know, but before COVID, we had so many Chinese speaking tourists, so it was actually worthwhile to study Chinese if you are gifted. I mean, it's not for me, but I do know a few tour guides who learned Chinese in order to guide them. So I guess they will happen in the Emirates.
When we took our family over, Julia, to Israel a few years ago, we had a Yemenite ancestry Jewish tour guide. His name was Manny. I wish I remember his last name because he was one of the best tour guides I've ever had in any country I've gone to. And my kids always remember him. He was fabulous. Came from a family of 10.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Well, I don't know him. If you recall his last name, so I will look for him and I will say that you remember him.
Hello. Yeah, I just had a comment.
Hey, Barry.
Yeah. Years ago, I was on a tour and we were off in an area and we were approached by a very unfriendly group of, I don't know who they were, but they didn't like us and it was threatening. Our guide, who happened to be a wonderful, brilliant man, tall young man, walked into the middle of them and he said one or two sentences to these people and they turned around and ran. And when he came back, it turned out he was former Mossad, and he knew how to deal with these.
All right.
Harry, there's something up with your internet.
Yeah.
It's not working.
Yeah, I think he's in the car, and so it's not, not
Nobody
properly
should
connected.
say it
But
was
we did
brilliant, whatever
understand
he said,
that.
but I know all of you in the car. So
Yeah, Barry, it's not really working. We heard you say as he's former Mossad very, 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 very slowly. So,
Yeah, but we did
sorry, but it's not
understand that
working.
he was a former Mossad.
Yeah.
Yeah, that helped. That definitely helped.
When do you leave for Dubai? When do you depart for Dubai?
Well, Monday, 7 a.m. Israeli time. We are supposed to take off, and then 3.5 hours later, we are supposed to land in Dubai. It is incredible how close it is, and it is supposed to be very, very hot up there. We hope to survive, and we have to take. It goes like that. You have to take a COVID-19 test within 72 hours before departure. And it has to be made by a very specific institution. So the only way for me to do it without paying like a fortune is to drive to the airport. So Saturday, I'm going to the airport to take the COVID-19 test. And then Monday, 4 a.m., I'm going back to the airport for the flight. And then we fly to Dubai. And as soon as we land, we have to take another COVID-19 test, okay? And then 3 days before we fly back, we have to take a test in Dubai. And then when we land in Israel, which is midnight, we have to take the fourth one. So we will be tested 4 times within a week. But all right, it is what it is. Hopefully I will test negative 4 times in a row. And then I will be able to get back home and not being isolated.
Julie, as far as I understand it, Israelis tend to travel with the same group of people they go abroad with. Are you with a group of your friends, or is this a special group going to the Emirates?
No, it's just a regular organized tour. I mean, you know, there is a tour agency called Pegasus. They announced that they, you know, they are going to organize a group to Dubai, so whoever wants can join. Whoever wants to join and pay about $2,000 US. That's all you need. And
so it's not a tour guide group then that's going.
No, it's not a tour guide. There were a few tour guide groups before, which I did not join for different reasons. And then I was I wanted to organize a group of tour guides, a friend of mine, to go together. And then we had this compulsory isolation upon return, so I didn't want to do that, and now it just got too late. So I decided that I will join a regular group, whatever it is, and then the season for the Emirates stops in the end of April. So actually, I'm leaving April 19th, and then the last group is leaving April 22nd. That's it, because it gets too hot there. And then they renew the tours in October. So hopefully in October, I will arrange another group of tour guides of my friends, and we will go again.
Are there tours to Bahrain and Saudi Arabia from Israel?
Pardon?
Are there tours to organize from Israel to Saudi Arabia and Bahrain?
Bahrain, yes. Bahrain, yes. Saudi Arabia, no, because right now we have no relationship. We never signed a peace accord with Saudi Arabia. So right now it's like, it is impossible, just like it is impossible to go to Syria. Officially, we're enemies. Unofficially, there are some negotiations, and we do know that something is going on, but no, you cannot. Being an Israeli citizen, there's no way you can visit Saudi Arabia. I will be the first to go, but it's impossible.
We were thinking in 2022 for the VFI Plus program to add an extension at the end, an option to go
Saudi Arabia.
Well, no, to go to Dubai.
Oh, to Dubai.
Yeah,
well,
or Abu Dhabi. But anyhow, to go to the UAE for about 3 or 4 days. We don't know what the cost might be out of sight.
It's very expensive, so we would have to see how we can do it.
Well, maybe you should start with something simpler and cheaper, which is Jordan. I mean, there's so many organized tours which have the Jordanian extension, and it is so much worth it. And it is so simple because you cross the border just over land, and then you drive from Eilat to Petra within about 2 hours, and then you can go to Wadi Ram, and there. Jordan is amazing. It is truly, truly amazing, and it is so much easier to organize, and no flights, no visas. Simple.
I agree. I've done that, but I think that Dubai sounds a lot sexier.
Well, I hope so. Listen, I will tell you from my personal experience within a few days, and I'm totally looking forward to it. I was trying to convince Noam to come with me because he already took his final exam in the college, so he's like free to go. So I wanted him to join, and he said, no, I don't think so. I barely survived 2 days in Las Vegas among all these buildings, He's like, he's a nature lover, and he said, no, I don't think I will make it a week surrounded by buildings. So,
but my granddaughter, when she went, they did an excursion out into the desert. So you'll have to tell him there's more than just the city in Dubai. And for you too, you'll probably get a chance to go out and, do the thing of riding a camel or something if you wanted to.
Yeah. No, I think I will leave without a camel, but yeah, definitely. When I planned this tour, which didn't happen yet, for the group of tour guides, so we did have a day of hiking, and we had a day of paddling. There is a mangrove reserve and something, so we did have some outdoors activities, but now I'm going with an organized tour, and they have no outdoors activities whatsoever. They have more shopping, and also it's very hot. It's going to be around 40 degrees Celsius, which is like 90 something Fahrenheit. So it's too hot for hiking now. but hopefully, autumn, maybe winter time, I will take my family.
But Julia, how are you going to control yourself to not explain everything?
Oh, well, yeah, this is difficult. Well, I will have to, I will have to shut up. I will be able to help the guide maybe a little bit just in terms of logistics if she likes, and if she doesn't, so no. But actually, this is one of, hey, Carol, now I can see you. One of the reasons why it is not so bad not to go with a group of tour guides, because tour guides, they always feel like they know best and they always make suggestions. It is impossible. I mean, it is so difficult to be within a group of tour guides unless you are a tour guide like of this group and then you have this authorization. But we are bad. I mean, it is difficult to be within a group of tour guides.
Do the Emiratis know how to deal with Israelis who tend to be a bit more demanding?
Well, Israelis are more demanding than anything else to begin with. And then if you're talking about an Israeli tour guide, this is the worst. Mm. It is. I know. I admit that. Okay, Carol, now I see you, and I wanted to tell you, all guys, but especially to Carol, that we will have an amazing presentation made by Sharona Lehman. You know her, and she's Carol's niece, and she made an amazing presentation about Tel Chish, which is one of the most important tales, one of the most important archaeological sites in Israel from the First Temple period. So we went there together, we took photos together, we spent wonderful time there. And then she made a presentation which was so amazing that I decided that I will not bother. So she will, make this presentation for you. That's this is in the beginning of May. So wanted to let you know. All right.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Julie.
Thank you all. Great. Harry, sexy means it costs more. I don't know. I think sexy means more attractive, more appealing, something people really want to do. But that's maybe because you've never been to Jordan and you don't know how amazing it is. I mean, it is just outstanding. Okay, maybe I will make some presentation about Jordan to convince you that we should have an extension for Jordan. Let's see. Okay, we dropped down to 20 participants, so I think that's the right time for me to start doing other stuff. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much for staying for so long. And well, happy Independence Day. Happy Yom Ha'atzmaut to you all.
Yeah. Great trip.
Wonderful trip.
And bon voyage to you, Julia.
See you. Thank you. Yeah, I will. Listen, I will try to join you Tuesday. I hope I will be able to do it. If not, so Ilana and Steve, you will take good care of Ami. And Ilana, you know Ami, so, and he is great, so you will take good care of him. And I hope to see you all Thursday in Dubai.
Very good. Bon voyage.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Safe
Take
travels.
care.
Bye.
Very nice. We are now in schmooze mode for anybody who wants to stick around. This will last until midnight.